I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jackie. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club.
Hi.
Hi. Today we're bringing an amazing topic to you.
Yes, it's so cool.
We're calling this
Nature's Magical Networks.
Ooh.
And everyone who doesn't know what it is has heard the title and the working titles and was like, ooh, that sounds interesting. And
Yes.
we were like, yes, it is.
It will be. So join us
Please
after a
join
card
us.
pull. After these messages.
After these messages from Spirit.
From Seasons
From
of the Witch,
Seasons
Beltane
of the Witch,
deck.
Beltane Oracle deck. I love this deck. I forgot how much I did.
I know. I love it. We love it. We love all the Seasons of the Witch decks. I think we've said this 700 times, or however many times we've said it.
And I'll say it 700 more.
I don't care. I'll say it again and again.
I don't care. And because it's a Beltane deck, which doesn't mean that, you can only use it during
No.
Beltane.
But
it goes with the season, and so I
Yes.
forget all about it as a dumb witch does, right?
classic.
And then it comes around again, and I'm like, ah!
So just for the record, Beltane just passed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It would have been on May 1st.
That's exactly what I do. I go, ah!
I mean, it was on May 1st. You do that.
I do that. I do. I was like,
Ish.
making fun of myself / somebody else, and then I was like, oh, that is what I do.
No, but it's not make fun of. It's cute.
No, it's not make fun of.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to pull, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, they're so I always forget how smooth these are.
And the quality of the cards is so good.
It's so nice. They're glossy.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
don't just look within. Dive deeply into the eternal realms of knowing. This is so good.
You don't know how perfect this is. You don't even know. You're about to know, but
Eek, it's so perfect.
it's so perfect.
I love it. The illustration's obviously just this amazing oak tree, and it kind of has a face in it, like the Oak King, you know?
Yes, I love it.
I love it as well.
That's
Little friend can go down there.
the most perfect card pull for this topic and the most perfect card pull for this ongoing season.
I agree. So, okay. What does this mean? Nature's Magical Network.
Oh my gosh, it's
Tell
so
us,
cool.
This was your concept to begin with. So
Yeah.
tell how this came about.
Yeah. I love that. That gives me a lot of credit. It's cool. It's very cool. Basically, what it is it's kind of like exploring, in a way, how you can craft your craft around the broader idea is animism, right?
Oh, that's a fancy word.
Yeah, it's a fancy word. All it means is sort of the concept that everything on the earth, the plants, the rocks, the animals, us, everything, has a spirit to it, and there's an energy to it, and that everything is interconnected and works together in this way.
I love that concept, for one. It's just so cute.
It is cute.
So if you have plants and you name them, that's adorable.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is.
That's exactly what that is. Or if you feel, if you are witches watching this is definitely just going to be well, yeah, of course, If you ever feel a connection to a natural place or a certain tree, a plant, a landscape, an animal, whatever it is, and you can't really explain it, but you know that there's just this energy exchange that's happening, that's what that is.
Yes, because that is real.
Yes.
And it's not just yes, it is you having a feeling, but it's not just you having some feeling.
Exactly.
It's real.
Exactly.
It's you picking up on something and acknowledging something that's real, which I love.
Yes. And it's something I thought of the concept of us talking about it in terms of how you can tap into that as a practicing witch, but this is an ancient idea.
Yes.
Druids were practicing and kind of outlined the idea of animism. I'm sure it was well before that as well. We just maybe don't have records of that. Yeah. But Druidry is definitely that idea of everything sort of having a spirit to it. Yeah. So it is a very ancient thing. I did not make it up, but I just liked the concept of it with certain things that you can do with your craft.
Yeah, and there's lots of spiritualities that bring this type of thing in as well, besides just witchcraft. So that is all super cool. So I think you kind of had, at least when you told me about this, you kind of had like 2 areas to kind of just focus on and highlight this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so the first one is the tree network.
Yes, I'm so excited. That's why oak is such a good card pull.
Yes, and oaks are some of the most ancient, beautiful,
yes,
symbolic trees, that exist. So that's like amazing that you pulled that. Yeah, so if you haven't heard of this, there is this tree root network communication that ecologists are starting to study. So what I really love even about like the concept of us talking about this today is it really bridges the science with the spirituality in this like beautiful enmeshed thing, which is how it should be.
Yes, and I think there's been other times when we've sort of alluded to that, science is not like the antithesis of witchcraft or any spirituality necessarily, or, depending, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But also like astrology and astronomy used to be one and the same.
Yeah.
And it kind of branched off. And we've never talked in depth about that exact subject, which I still think we should do at some point. But it kind of just comes back to like these things that we believe because we know in our bodies as humans intuitively. Eventually, science can recognize and prove those things also.
Absolutely. And
because they're real.
Because they're real. And I love that you phrased it that way, because when the Druids were developing these beliefs, and then, as you said, they exist in all these other sort of mythologies and religions even, and everything like that, this was not a scientific concept. It was not scientifically proven. Even the study of this concept is a fairly new one for modern science.
Exactly. And also for the record, not that it matters, but I think science is amazing. I think the scientific method is so cool. I think there's been amazing discoveries, and like, I love science.
Yeah, and it doesn't, the pursuit of scientific knowledge doesn't negate your spiritual knowledge.
Right.
It just enhances it further. And it's not even necessarily because it's like, oh, well, it proves it. It doesn't need to. There is no need to do that. If you have a spiritual faith, you have the faith. Faith doesn't need the proof. But it can kind of go in tandem and give you a framework for understanding.
Yes, and I also think, like you said, like if you have a belief or just an intuitive knowing of something, you don't need to prove that.
No.
But it's super rad if some other side of something comes around and proves that too. And then you're like, I knew it. Like,
exactly.
Yes, it just feels good.
Yes, and it enhances it, because I feel like either one is really not enough on their own.
That's true.
Right?
It's like an incomplete human experience if you're just looking too much on one side or the other.
Yes.
I think there's room for both, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So this tree root network thing.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so ecologists have begun to study this, that trees communicate with each other, and they share resources and are able to, like, quote unquote talk to each other,
communicate.
And it's this underground network, and it's actually fungi, and it's called the mycorrhizal network, and it's these like tiny little threads that are under, like, in the root system.
Yeah, under everything.
Yeah, they're called
everything.
Under everything. Yeah, I know. It's a little bit like, oh God, that's all under there. But
it is, though. It's there.
It's like weird at first, but then you're like, oh, but it's like doing something really cool and taking care of me. So then you kind of get over the fact that it's like, yeah.
Totally.
But they're called mycelium, and they intertwine with the tree roots. And there's a ecologist, her name is Suzanne Simard, or I don't really know how to pronounce her last name, but Simard. And she called it the Wood Wide Web, which I'm like obsessed with.
That's cute.
I think that's the cutest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
I think that's way better than anything else I've ever heard.
I know, I agree. It's really cool. And she's kind of like
that.
Why didn't? Well, maybe I didn't know it at the time.
No, I mean I want to go on it.
You want to go on the
Wood Wide Web?
You're on it.
Well, I know, but like I want to like be on it.
You want to log on?
I want to.
Oh no!
Yes, correct.
Why did I say that?
Because puns are great.
I hate them. You're the one that likes them, and I just said that.
Don't lie about me. I do not like puns. I hate them.
Don't lie about me, she says.
You tell me I like puns. I do not like puns.
Just kidding. She doesn't. Don't start sending her them. Then she's going to be mad at me. Like, look what Ashley said. And
I hate them.
It's so annoying. I can't believe I just did that. I know one person's going to be really happy.
I know. We're going to get a message from them with more puns, I bet.
So annoyed at myself. Okay.
Anyways, that was a good one, though, because actually it was kind of set up for it.
It was a good one. I kind of couldn't just bypass it.
No, exactly. I want to be on the Wood Wide Web. I want to log on.
Yes. Well, you can. That's the beautiful thing about it, is that you can. So if you want to know more about the science of it, and it's very fascinating, there's all kinds of people that are like doing the research and writing about it. But Suzanne Simard is like amazing. And I feel like the way that she explains it is very accessible.
Yeah.
Cool. So she's great. So look that up.
Yeah. And we're not turning this into a science podcast. We're just telling you about things.
No, this is not like a Bill Nye thing, but could be cool. Anyways, so this communication. And then there is like this, they call it alleliopathy. That's the way that the trees actually like quote unquote have these conversations.
Yeah.
And like, the suffix of that word being like the feeling, the emotion. So it's like, they actually like translate if there's like a threat.
Yes.
Or like an invasive species that's coming in, they can like send messages through this root system.
Yes.
To warn their other tree and plant, I want to say friends.
I
but
know.
Then people are going to be like, okay, you're anthropomorphizing that. They're not friends. Maybe they are.
Well, what are we supposed to call them?
I don't know.
Co-communicationators, whatever. They're friends.
I feel like you have to use terminology
pals.
like that because I get that it's projecting that onto
it's
the
just
tree.
A word.
I feel like it fits. I don't know. I mean, some people might be like that. You don't know that, like, and I guess that's true.
That's why this is not a science podcast.
It's not.
This is a witchcraft podcast.
No, and here's the thing: it's brand new science in a way, but the other side of it is very ancient. And do we understand and know everything? No, which is why we have science. So I think if you don't fully understand it, then tapping into the idea, just the broader idea that we're all interconnected.
Yes.
That these natural elements are able to communicate in this way. I think that that's amazing. And I think as witches, we can tap into the magic around that because there is magic to that. Even if you do break down the science to a molecular level, we still don't know why that science exists and why it's there and who put it there and all those other questions.
No, exactly. And just like to add on to what you're saying, like a lot of this network is like that mycelium, which is like fungus, which is mushrooms. And if people have never heard the phrase magic mushrooms, like there are mushrooms that you can take and have a psychedelic experience.
That's right.
That puts you in touch with these subtle communications of the universe in a very special way that our brains are designed to do.
Bingo.
So like, and that's scientific.
It
is. You literally can't explain it.
No, you can't. Even like psychobiologists, like they don't know why. They'll know it has an effect on the brain, but they don't know why, and they don't always know what part, and they don't always know how that's stimulated or why some people react this way, other people react wildly differently. Yes, that's such a valid part of this, and it's something that needs to be discussed and normalized as well.
Yes, and like anything in the United States anyways, like any research on any kind of drug is going to be highly regulated and not funded well, unless it's a pharmaceutical. Then you get all the money you want.
Yeah.
But there are medicinal uses for mushrooms too. Absolutely. And that is being studied, although not as much as it should be, in terms of like treatment for like PTSD and depression and even just, like grief and bereavement and all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
And there are scientific like university studies of this stuff too, like as far as humans using it and taking it for like healing or like connection to the universe kind of purposes, like spiritual purposes.
Spiritual purposes, yeah. And in tandem and combination of things.
Exactly.
Once
for sure.
again, yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah, it's really cool and just like very vast. So, okay, you're like, I want to be on the Wood Wide Web.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Give me my log on.
Yeah, so I'm going to like kind of tell you like how you can sort of log on.
Amazing.
Yeah. So you already know all the stuff. You know, you can learn more if you want to, but basically if you are trying to manifest something, do a spell, and you really want it to be far-reaching.
Oh,
This is where this is going to come in, right? You want it to be far-reaching, or you want it to reach maybe like a specific person or group or something like that.
That might be far away.
That might be far away.
Even,
yes.
right?
Yes, or unreachable in some way.
Oh.
Maybe not like geographically far away, but like unreachable in some way.
Like maybe they have crossed over.
Yeah, maybe.
The Rainbow Bridge. Or maybe they just won't listen to things.
Yeah, or maybe they really hurt you and you shouldn't be speaking to them directly.
Right.
But you have things you need to say.
Right.
And stuff you want to get across.
Yes.
And, you know, so this is where this is going to really fit beautifully.
I can already see it.
Mm-hmm. So first, I think just a reminder to yourself that you are supported fully by this entire Earth network that is listening to you, that wants to hear you.
Yeah.
I think that's like the main thing to remind yourself of. And then also too, the reminder that magic is an exchange of energy. Mm-hmm. So you're bringing something to it, and then, you know, you do sort of want an outcome back, or you sort of want something back, but you are bringing something to it. And so I think with doing kind of like tree network magic, you really want to work on building that relationship.
Yeah, so maybe if you like had a tree in mind, or that you could visit and sit with and kind of exchange energy with, like in a literal way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because that way you take it from like this concept to like, well, this is my tree, and I sit by it and I journal, or I whisper to it, or I take the, like we've talked about, the leftovers from my spell and I bury it there in that ground.
Yes.
Things like that, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Because it can be very sort of conceptual like that. You can do very sort of hands-on things like that. It's the idea of tapping into that idea of animism that I mentioned before, that everything is sentient, and you can talk out loud, you can talk in your mind. The message that you are trying to get across, or the thing you're trying to manifest, you're informing the most powerful network on the entire earth of the thing you want, or the thing you want to say. And you don't have to do it with any type of like vengefulness or any type of like
this is like
urgency,
a communing with nature. And anytime you're communing with nature, you're communing with yourself. You know, you're being with whatever you're sharing or exchanging or giving or receiving, which is also yourself.
Exactly. And it's coming back to you, and it's like that concept of you're putting it out, and so mote it be, right? Like whatever is meant to be is still going to be.
Yep.
And it's, if you're doing that with one tree, it's one tree, but it's many, many minds, because it's connected to everything that it needs to be. And it really can just be as simple as like tapping into that feeling and just speaking out what you want, or what you want to say, or what you need to get off of your heart. It can be something as simple as that. You can do it very symbolically too. Like if the actual concept of this doesn't quite resonate with you or make much sense to you, or like you're not really like a nature tree person and you're like, I don't know, this is strange. It's okay. Like even just like the symbolism of the tree and the roots and the communication is fine. You can like pull that in with symbolism on your altar or
yes, like
your tarot, your oracle or tarot cards.
Yes, you could pull an oak card and that can be your thing, you know,
exactly.
or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
I think, so I don't want to stop you if you have a lot more to say on that, but I do want to tie in or maybe move on to, there's multiple networks.
Yes,
magical networks in nature. So that was the one. The second one that you suggested that we're going to go into a little bit more is actually like, okay, so I think the bird that you said was crows.
Right.
But the species, well, the genus is corvids. And so there's many birds that are corvids. I mean, there's many more than this, but the main ones that I think people see often, crows, ravens, jays, and magpies and nutcrackers. And there's more than that too. And some of them have, more obscure things. But these are birds that are everywhere. Almost even if you live in a city, like even if you live in the country, like there's crows. So just to focus on crows, but you can apply this to any and all of these birds or probably lots of other birds. Birds are very varied, but just sticking with this kind of, segment of them, there's been a ton of scientific research on how intelligent they are.
Yes.
And there's some really, weird, kind of scary research.
I know.
The main researcher for this, his name is Dr. John Marslev. He's the University of Washington, and he has done research using masks, himself and his students, where they would try to see if birds could learn to recognize human faces. And so they set these experiments up in various ways, but they would use masks so that different people could come, but the bird would recognize the face like the same over and over again, as the researchers changed or different volunteers would do things. But they found so many interesting things, one of which was that if someone who trapped a bird for observation and then released the bird, when the person with that mask came back, all the birds would be scared of him, even though he only trapped one bird. That bird told the other birds to be scared of that guy.
Yep.
And so they would be. There's hundreds and hundreds of vocalizations that crows use. And they have alarm sounds. They have friendly sounds. They will get to know a person over time and remember them. So the simplest thing with this is if you feed a bird.
Yeah.
Now, you might not recognize them.
Right.
Unless you scientists tag them and things like that, which as a person living, you're not probably going to do that, just on the street, right? Because whatever, why would you?
Grabbing a crow.
Yes, I don't recommend that you do that probably. But if you go to the same place and you feed them, they will remember you.
Yes.
And they will follow you and they will look for you to feed them.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just crows that do this, of course. You can reward a lot of animals with food. So, for example, in my own backyard, I have all these little birds and even squirrels, and I recognize them, and I see different ones, and I see new ones. And they come into the yard because I feed them, okay? It's that simple, right?
Exactly.
But you can use this also the same way that Ashley was talking about with the trees, really. Yeah. But just knowing that you can, whether it's a mental message or literal spoken messages.
Absolutely.
That they will communicate amongst themselves about your energy, about who you are, about even what you want, maybe. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't
know the limits of this.
We don't. They're just beginning to study this too. I mean, the animal researchers that are studying corvids have just even scratched the surface of how much their brains can do, and in terms of how big their brain is compared to how much intelligence they have. It's a whole thing.
Yes, and I mean, I've heard scientists say that just because their brains are very different than ours, which they are,
right.
That they almost have the same intelligence as a lot of primates.
Yes.
Maybe not humans, but the others.
Definitely.
They can count.
Yep.
They can recognize faces, obviously. They have all kinds of vocalizations and communications. It's just we don't... As a species, there's a lot of humans, there's a lot of bias against all other species, to be honest. We do not value any other animals as much as we value ourselves, and even sometimes don't see ourselves as animals.
Exactly.
But we are and they are, and just because we don't understand them doesn't mean they're less intelligent or doing less in the universe.
Exactly.
So I think, I don't know, just making a more even playing field for like, maybe if you show them like respect and you say like, I recognize that maybe you're helpful and valuable in the universe, why wouldn't they return that same energy? I think they do.
I think they do. And I think they do on the level that you described where, right, like they'll recognize you and you can sort of like feed them and have that exchange of that relationship. But yes, who's to say that it doesn't go beyond that? Like so much folklore and all kinds. I mean, it feels silly even saying it, like has been written about corvids and has corvids of there's an innate, just like with the druids with the trees, there's an innate idea, something in our biological makeup that tells us something's different about these birds. Something's different about them.
Yes.
They think differently. Before we even knew what that meant, like we knew.
It's interesting too because a lot of it is also cultural. I think in the United States and most of Europe, for lots of reasons that you can kind of trace back historically to like the plague and all these different time periods, we kind of associate crows and ravens and those birds with like bad luck or death or omens and things that kind of have a negative tint. But in other cultures, in other countries, they don't have that. They're seen as wise and they're seen as like, harbingers of good news and things like that. So if there is some kind of like notion of fear or something associated with these kind of birds, I would say just remember, like, that's an inherited cultural belief.
Right.
That isn't the truth about these creatures.
No, it's not. And they're a black bird. So, like, that's going to happen. Just like black cats and everything else. Yeah. It's going to have that stigma attached and everything like that. But you're totally right. I feel like more cultures than just the dominant sort of one in Western culture believe good things. And that they're messenger... the really interesting through line, too, is that they're messengers from beyond that come through and can tell us things. Whether that is looked at as scary or looked at as good, there still is that through line, which I find so fascinating that even though there's differences, that was something that everybody like thought was true.
Yes, and even, knowledge is often viewed as dangerous.
Right.
By people who want to keep you oppressed.
Exactly.
So they don't want you to know and they want you to be scared. And who's they? The big they, right?
Yeah, the big they.
The patriarchy, the colonialism, all of that kind of wonderful, fun stuff.
Right.
That was sarcastic.
Exactly.
Yes. So this is yet another way to empower yourself, which is really what witchcraft is all about. To empower yourself to do good and be good in this universe by working with all of these networks that exist.
Right. And
that are devalued.
That are devalued, misunderstood, and I'm glad you said it that way because you can empower yourself, but you can also do good and bring good, which is really a part of, it's a huge part of why we do what we do. And entering into kind of like building this into your craft and your practices, again, just to reiterate, it's about building a relationship. It's building a relationship with the trees. It's building a relationship with the corvids. Like, it's not just something that you're going to exploit or harness and then you're going to like use it or something.
Yes,
that's
like
not
in a pejorative way.
And that could end up really bad for you. And I think that's another... You could go deeper into some crazy stuff with that. Like, that's maybe why bad things sometimes do happen or messages go across and there's no explanation as to how that got found out or why that was... You don't know who's talking. You don't know who's watching. You don't know who's listening. Yes. And that goes for all the people that are messing with you. They don't know who's watching. They don't know who's talking. They don't know who's listening. But you might know, and that's pretty cool.
That is cool. I love having secrets like that.
I do, too.
It's
with the trees.
Secrets
with the crows.
I know. I'm just checking. Like, I don't know. It's really interesting to just learn about things like this, too. And just, it's really cool.
It is cool because it's there.
Because it's there.
It's just there, and it may be something that you never really put a lot of thought into or just passive thought into.
Yep.
And there is so much power.
Yes, there really is.
The power and the knowledge that exists within these networks, like one tree, one bird is so many minds.
And even if you don't use this in a formal way or on some intentional level,
sure,
just now that you know this, like, you probably will find yourself looking at a bird differently.
Yes.
Or looking at trees differently. And, like, that alone is powerful and cool.
It is. And it makes you hopefully feel a little more even just, like, connected. To your surroundings. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. So I like nature's magical networks.
I love it. You're on the Wood Wide Web now.
I am. I totally am.
It feels nice. I'm going to stay logged on. Stay logged in.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
amazing.
I love it.
Until next time.
Stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.
Dumb Witch Club is written and hosted by us, Ashley Sidner
and Jackie Gerard at the Dumb Witch Clubhouse in Orange County, California.
Produced and edited by Matt Heinemeyer. Art direction by Violet Turner. Culture consultant Jane Turner.
Original music by Ashley Sidner. Look us up on all your favorite social media platforms, including TikTok and Patreon.
Until next time, stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.